Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today for our Discover Verkada with Parallel Technologies webinar. My name is Maddie Olson, and I am the marketing manager here at Parallel Technologies, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. Your microphones are going to be muted throughout this webinar to help keep things running smoothly, but we do encourage participation. So if you have any questions as we go or comments, please feel free to drop them into the chat at any time. There should be a little Q&A portion at the top or the side of your screen. We will set aside time for questions after the presentation. For those who need to drop early or would like to send this content to a colleague, we will also be emailing you a copy of this webinar as well. So today's session is going to introduce you all to Verkada's unified security platform, which brings video surveillance, access control, sensors, and system health into a single, easy-to-use interface designed to support teams across multiple locations. Verkada's cloud-managed approach helps organizations gain real-time visibility and reduced maintenance, and most importantly, streamline day-to-day security operations. One last note before we get rolling. For those of you that know, we are going to be doing a fun little giveaway for our attendees today. One of the winners on our webinar is going to receive a Lego kit valued at $150 just in time for the holidays. And a second winner polled will also receive a Yeti coffee tumbler because for those of you here in Minnesota, it's officially winter, so we need to keep our coffee nice and warm. Winners are going to be selected after the presentation, and I'm going to contact you directly. Now, I'm excited to introduce our presenter, Nate from Verkada. He's going to walk through the platform's capabilities. He's going to share how organizations are using these tools to simplify daily work and modernize their security strategy. And with that, Nate, I'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks everyone for hopping on. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Nate Hollingshouse. I am an account executive at Verkada. I am responsible for Verkada Business for commercial businesses, basically anywhere from Edina down to Rochester. So I do a lot of business with Parallel Technologies. Super excited to chat with you guys today about Verkada. So I am going to do a little intro to Verkada for those of you that don't know much about us, and then I will hop into the platform. I'll show you guys a quick little demo, just kind of a general overview of some of the products that we offer and the functionality included with that. And then I'll hop into some updates that we have recently pushed out that I think would be valuable to any Verkada customer. And then, like Maddie said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just shoot them through, and Maddie will interrupt me throughout the presentation, and I'll do my best to answer those. So just a quick little overview on Verkada. Verkada was founded in 2016 by the former founder of Meraki. If you guys have ever heard of Cisco Meraki, Cisco is the largest networking company in the world. A man named Hans Robertson founded Meraki with the idea of centralizing networking equipment, switches, firewalls, VPNs, and putting those all into one platform. He sold that idea off to Cisco for a ton of money and then took that money and invested it into Verkada with the idea of taking the same concept of centralization, but applying it to physical security. So Verkada is a single pane of glass physical security solution for your building, taking cameras and door access and alarms and all the other products that we've mentioned and putting it into one platform that makes it easy to use and makes all of them talk to each other. We have about 30,000 customers. This number is probably closer to 31 or 32,000 today. 91 of those are the Fortune 500. We have about 8,000 global partners, one of those partners being our very trusted partner, Parallel Technologies, that we're here with today. And then we have a team here of about 2,500 people and across 16 offices across the globe. I work out of Salt Lake City. I'm in Minnesota about 50-60% of the time these days. So if anybody wants to chat or grab lunch, let me know. I'm happy to treat you guys to a little Verkada sponsored lunch. And then this is every product that we offer essentially. We started with just cameras in 2016, and we have throughout our time being in business, we've dove into these other product lines. So shortly after cameras came door access and access control. Shortly after that came the environmental sensors for schools that are having issues with students vaping, or manufacturing facilities that are trying to monitor the air quality or the TVOC or things like that. After that, we came out with alarms, which is your typical building security, motion sensors. A lot of that product works with our cameras nowadays. And then we have a workplace solution that is essentially guest check-in, with an iPad, and again, more integration with the cameras and the door access. And then our last product, my personal favorite, is the Verkada Intercom, which is essentially an industrial, very high-tech Ring doorbell that allows you guys to speak with someone at the door, let them in, and see all the footage associated with it. Just a quick overview of like where Verkada separates itself from an infrastructure standpoint. If we have any IT people on here, you will probably like this slide a lot more than I do. But most camera systems that we come across today still look like this. There's, between 10 and 500 cameras, depending on the size of your building, that plug into a switch that need to plug into some sort of on-site recording device, an NVR or a DVR, and those normally require servers. A couple issues that we see with this are, first, the NVR is a single point of failure. If this recording device goes down, the entire system goes down with it. The cameras are not recording. You oftentimes lose all the footage associated with it. The other issue that we see with this is there's a lot of bulky hardware that you'll see up here in the top left of the screen is expensive and pretty difficult to maintain. It's really hard for organizations to work into budget security upgrades once you're outside of a warranty. Most of the security platforms that Verkada runs up against normally have between a 1 and a 3 year warranty. Sometimes we'll see up to 5. So once you're outside of that warranty, if the NVR goes down or cameras start to break, it becomes a reoccurring cost for the business that's pretty hard to budget for. So Verkada changed all this. We moved the storage off of the NVR to the camera itself, or the device itself. So every Verkada device has on-site storage in the form of an SD card, and it plugs into a power over Ethernet switch, and then that's all the infrastructure you need. You don't need an NVR. You no longer need servers to maintain your camera footage. So essentially how it works is the cameras or the access control device or the alarm panel will house data on itself and then push that data to the cloud every second or so. So for cameras, for example, footage goes onto the SD card, up to the cloud, onto the SD card, up to the cloud, and it creates this check and balance, because if the camera goes down, the footage is still in the cloud, accessible. If the internet goes down and we don't have access to the cloud, as long as the device is still connected to power, it has that on-site storage, so the doors will still work, the camera will still be recording, and then once it reconnects to the internet, all of it will sync. The best part about that for the customer is that because there's less infrastructure for Verkada to manufacture and maintain, we are able to do a longer warranty because we have less overhead. So every Verkada product outside of a couple have a 10-year product warranty, and normally what we see 1 to 3, maybe 5. So it's really beneficial for organizations with strict budgets to navigate to something like Verkada, because they can purchase Verkada on a 10-year cloud license and basically guarantee that they won't have any security related expenses for the next 10 years because it's all covered under the warranty. So I'm going to hop into Command real quick and show you guys a very brief demo, just an overview of what this looks like. So this is Verkada Command. This is our web-based platform where you manage all of your Verkada products from one spot. So instead of having cameras with one manufacturer and a separate door system and a separate alarm system, with Verkada, it all comes under one roof. If we start with cameras, for multi-location organizations, Verkada tends to be a good fit because we're able to manage all of the cameras remotely from whatever site you're at. Oftentimes, we'll see people driving to and from different locations, wasting a lot of time trying to troubleshoot cameras. With Verkada, it doesn't matter where you are, you have all the access in the world. So if we click into our HQ site in San Mateo or San Francisco, California, you'll see that we get this little image of all of the cameras. They're green, online recording, good to go. If one of these goes down or it's doing some sort of update, you'll see that it goes yellow like this, and you will receive a text message if you have that set up saying, hey, your camera's down. What would you like to do about it? One thing that Verkada really prides itself on, if that does happen, is our in-house support. So most security manufacturers rely 100% on the integrator like Parallel Technologies to go out and troubleshoot cameras, and oftentimes you pay time and material associated with that to fix the cameras, maintain them, and whatnot. Verkada's a little different where we take most of the support in-house and we maintain that responsibility. So if one of your cameras goes down, you can click into this live support chat. The average response time is about 15 to 20 seconds. I think we're at about 22 today. You're chatting with a real person. It's not AI. It's not outsourced to some different IT team in another part of the world. Within 20 seconds, you're chatting with a live Verkada engineer that's housed in the US, and 95% of the issues that we see with Verkada products are solved through that chat. And then if you're in the off 5 or 6% where we cannot solve it and it is a problem with the hardware, then that 10-year warranty kicks in and we drop ship you a new camera or a new door reader or whatever it is overnight. You plug it in the next day and there's no cost associated with that. So getting into cameras, Verkada tends to separate itself from our competitors with how easy it is to find and save and share footage. So with a typical camera system, depending on how robust it is and how often you use it, you're typically searching for footage solely based off of time and date. I know that an incident occurred yesterday, so I'm going to watch the footage from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. yesterday at 64 times speed and try and find what I'm looking for. Verkada is a little different. The idea with Verkada is that we have all these different analytics where you can take one piece of information about an incident and plug it into Verkada and pull the footage in 10 or 15 seconds instead of a couple hours and save it and share it with the appropriate parties. So I'll run through these pretty quickly, but the first analytic is motion. If we know where something occurred, but we don't know when it occurred. So let's say that there was a slip and fall in your manufacturing facility, or there was a fight at a school and we want to know what happened. We don't necessarily know the exact time frame, but we know that the fight occurred right here. We can highlight this little bike rack, and now this is going to pull all the times that someone or something walked through that box that I just drew. So it'll outline the people in a little green box and show their walking path or their trajectory with a green arrow. You can do the same thing with vehicles. We just added animals if you guys want to track dogs and cats walking around. I don't have any customers that do that, but it is a cool little feature. Or you can do just any motion in general. History, I won't spend too much time on. All these cameras will have a minimum of 30 days of storage on them. We can go all the way up to 365, but to be honest, the typical Verkada customer does 30-day cameras because it's the least expensive. And this is where you would search for something based on date and time like any other system. But what people tend to use more is what we call people analytics. So this is when we have some sort of incident. We don't know much about it, but we have a description of what this person looked like. Maybe there was a vandalism at a church or vandalism at your school, and someone said, "Hey, I saw someone that looked like they were up to no good, and they were wearing maybe they were wearing blue pants and they were wearing a red shirt." This is now going to pull all of the footage of someone that matches that description. You'll see some maroon, some brown, anything that resembles somewhat red, but this is a good way to find people based off of what they were wearing or their appearance. And we can do the same thing with face search. So if we catch the face of someone that vandalized the facility or caused some sort of issue, we can click into their facial profile and see where else they've been. And what a lot of my customers use is what we call person of interest, which is if there is some sort of repeat offender. The Basilica of St. Mary is one of my largest customers, and they have a large homeless community right around the facility. And if one of those members of the homeless community starts to cause a lot of issues, we will add them as what we call a person of interest, and then we can set up proactive text message notifications for if they come back. So if there's a student with schools, we see a lot of mom and dad are getting a divorce and dad should not be picking up the kids from school. We can put a picture of that person into Verkada Command, and then we can set up text message notifications when they come on site so that we are being a little bit more proactive with our security situations rather than reactive after the fact that something has happened. Hopping into access control, I won't run through every product just for the sake of time, but the biggest benefit of Verkada is that all of these devices sync with each other and work together. So if you have Verkada cameras and Verkada doors, not only do we get the door events and the historical data of who has unlocked a door and how and when, we get the camera footage associated with it. So if I go ahead and remote unlock this door, you will see it generates an event for my user web unlock the door, but we also get the camera footage associated with it. So we see a lot of integrations here with cameras for like if we have problems with people losing their key cards or something like that, we can search for a specific user. We'll search for my user, and we can look at the footage of this user unlocking the door and say, is this Nate unlocking the door, or did he lose his key card and someone else picked it up and is walking around with it? And then we'll touch quickly on alarms. Alarms is Verkada has a couple different alarms licenses. What we see the most of is using cameras for alarm triggers. So a lot of organizations have older alarm systems with a lot of older hardware that's starting to malfunction. Motion sensors are going off when they shouldn't. Glass break sensors are going off when they shouldn't. So what we'll do is we'll actually use our camera system as an alarm trigger. So you can see in this camera feed, we have a box drawn in this alarm or in this alarm platform, and we can customize how long someone or something has to be in that area to trigger an alarm. So instead of having a motion detector here, we could say, hey, if the camera detects someone loitering in this area for over 2 minutes, I would like to trigger an alarm. Because we have the camera footage associated with this alarm trigger, when that alarm is triggered, it's sent to a monitoring agent who looks at it and says, is this truly an alarm or is this a false positive? If it's a false positive, they will dismiss it and you will not get a text message at 2 or 3 a.m. for duct tape falling off the wall or something like that. But if it is a real alarm, they will contact you and the authorities based on the settings that you have set up within Verkada. And this is our way of getting rid of false alarms, which is a big issue in the alarms industry, and also getting priority police response because the unfortunate reality is sometimes we're short staff on police on call or on duty, and we don't necessarily get the quickest response times if they just get another ADT alarm of a motion sensor going off. Whereas if it's a real person calling them saying, hey, I'm watching someone break into this building, or I just watched this person jump the fence, here's a video link or a link to the footage of it happening, we tend to get priority police response. So that's all I'm going to focus on for the brief demo. Maddie, are there any questions in the chat thus far?
Yeah, actually, there's one here. What AI features tend to be the most popular or helpful
Great
that you're seeing
question.
with your clients?
So all of those analytics that we talked about with cameras are essentially AI. It's AI notifications of the motion, the people. What we did just recently come out with is what we call AI search, which is Verkada's natural language model for within reason typing whatever you want into Verkada command and then pulling the footage for it. So this search bar is what we call AI search. We'll do person with crossed arms for the sake of simplicity, but you can type essentially whatever you want into command within reason that is not inappropriate, and Verkada will pull the footage for it. This works within your own command environment, so the more that you use it, the better that it gets. But this is probably our most popular AI feature. Um, just because it allows people to simplify their security searches. You can put whatever you want within reason into here and pull up the footage. You can get very, very specific with this person with crossed arms yesterday in this camera feed wearing a red shirt. And you can just essentially extend this query as long as you need to until it pulls up the footage that you're looking for.
Great.
So
And that's it for right now.
wonderful. Okay, we'll hop into some recent updates with Verkada. So starting with cameras, we just went over AI-powered search, but what we have now is what we call AI-powered industry-specific alerts. So if we hop into command, we have essentially made preset alerts that people can set up if they want to. Um, so if we go here, if I can move my little webinar thing, here we go. When we click into the AI-powered alerts box here, these are our preset alerts that people can set up, and it just makes it a little bit easier, more streamlined to set up these alerts. So these are some examples that we have that you can set up just with the click of a button. Person without hard hat, person without safety eyewear, healthcare worker not wearing a mask or wearing a mask. Essentially anything that you type into that search bar, you can create into an alert, but these are some preset ones that we have perfected ourselves that allow people to make alerts easier, set them up easier, and get better results from the AI functionality that Verkada offers. Um, we'll skip the AI-powered unified timeline. For schools, a cool feature that we just came out with is called GPS video search. So Verkada offers a product called the Cellular Gateway, which is very popular for schools and buses, for example. Setting up an NVR system on a bus is pretty difficult. The Cellular Gateway is essentially a portable internet connection that you can plug in on your bus and then plug cameras into it that allows you to track footage and have internet connection no matter where you are. Doesn't have to be a switch or an internet connection there as long as we have the gateway. So we came out with GPS video search, which allows you to track the route that a bus is traveling through and pull up the footage, not just based on the analytics that Verkada offers, but also the location of the bus. So if we know that there was an incident on the bus, you'll see that as we click through or watch the video here, as the bus moves throughout their route, it will show the footage that is associated with that camera at that time. So if there's a fight and we don't have much context around it, or there's an incident on the bus, but the bus driver says, "Hey, I know it occurred when I was turning onto this street," we can go into Verkada Command and essentially search for footage based on the location rather than using the other analytics that we offer. Now, another product that we offer at Verkada that tends to be a really powerful way for organizations to transition to Verkada is what we call the Verkada Command Connector. So, in the past, Verkada has been um, a not very inclusive environment, we'll say. So you had to have Verkada cameras, you had to have Verkada hardware in order to use the Verkada software. That is no longer the case. So the Verkada Command Connector is essentially a box, a cloud connector, if you will. You'll hear that term a lot in the security industry, that we can put on your IT rack or your server rack, and that will take third-party camera feeds as long as they match a few certain criteria and give them the powers of Verkada. So if we hop into our camera site, you'll see that we have all these different sites. And we have one that is called the Verkada Command Connector, if I could find it. And we will search for it here. And you'll see some different third-party hardware that we're using in our demo environment that is still being taken into Verkada. So one thing that we talk about a lot with the Command Connector is the Verkada free trial. We will send out a camera or a Command Connector for 30, 60, 90 days and let you guys play with this hardware. We'll pay for shipping both ways. We'll help you set it up if you feel like this is something that might be able to help your organization. And something that's really cool that Parallel Technologies have that very few of our integrators have is a lab that has most of these products that you guys are seeing today. So if you guys aren't super hot on the trial, you don't want to set anything up, but you want to see some of these products in motion, then let me or your Parallel account manager know, and we can get you guys out there to look at some of these products in real time. But the Verkada Command Connector essentially gives all of the functionality of Verkada to a third-party camera. So this is an Onwa camera, one of Verkada's biggest competitors, but you'll see that by using the Command Connector, we can still do the motion search, the people search, the face search, all of the good things that we've seen throughout this demo, and we don't necessarily have to purchase Verkada hardware for that. So if you made a recent purchase of security cameras, but you're looking to beef up the AI functionality that your organization has, you can still use those cameras and we can supply the Command Connector. And then after that, you pay for a Verkada cloud license, essentially. And the way that most organizations do it is they want the 10-year warranty with Verkada. So they will buy a cloud license and the Command Connector. And then as that hardware, the existing hardware life cycles, they will get rid of that camera that's dead, swap it with a Verkada camera that's covered under the warranty, and that license moves from the existing camera to the new Verkada camera. You don't have to buy a new license for it. So these are some of the manufacturers that we cover. Again, we always encourage the free trial when it comes to Command Connector or just any Verkada deployment in general, just to make sure that it works in your environment and you're getting out of it what you intend to. But we do a lot of Axis cameras, we do a lot of Digital Watchdog, a lot of Ava or Vigilon, Onwa. So if any of these make sense to you guys, let me know, let your Parallel account rep know, and we'll talk through it. Getting into access control, our most recent access control update is what we call the AF64, the Access Station Pro. And this is, put into simpler terms, a facial recognition reader. So this camera is a 5 megapixel security camera. And this allows you to create someone's face as their identification to enter a building. So for really sensitive areas, we see this a lot with manufacturing facilities, healthcare facilities, schools that have IT closets that are very sensitive that they don't want people getting into. You can put this product up, it'll scan your face, and then you can use your face to get into the door rather than your phone. Verkada offers Bluetooth unlock with all of our readers. So this product is essentially two-in-one because it has the camera for the facial recognition, and then it has a built-in door reader, so you can still use your badge or your phone to enter these doors that we have the AF64 on. Now, just some one update with Command that I think is really powerful that I always talk about is what we call Verkada Helix. So Verkada Helix is a really cool product that we offer here at Verkada. I guess I should call it a feature rather than a product. But Verkada Helix is Verkada's way of taking third-party data into Verkada Command via API and tying that data to camera footage. So we see this a lot in the cannabis industry. We see this a lot in retail and same with manufacturing. But essentially, if you can set up your point of sale system or your any system that has data related to camera footage that you guys want to be able to search for that data rather than the timestamp associated with it, we can use Verkada Command and Verkada Helix to do that. So I have a customer, a large trucking customer, that has an API set up that every time that an order is offloaded onto the dock, they will send that data to Verkada Command with the time that it was offloaded onto the dock and the order number. So then if they get a notification from someone at one of their sites saying, hey, we had a problem with that order, instead of searching for the camera footage in different ways, they can actually search for footage based on that order number. So you'll see in our distribution center, we have these different um, pieces of data that are being sent to Verkada through API that we can search for footage based on. So cashier checkout here, you can see that we had like the discount percentage was 20. So if we had an issue with someone checking out and we know that the discount percentage was 20, but we don't want to search for the footage any other way, we can search for all the different times that the discount percentage was 20 or the order number was this, and it'll pull up the footage associated with it. So just another way to simplify the way that you find and save and share footage is Verkada Helix, and we will help you set up that API integration. We have a couple pre-built out ones with Shopify and some of those other common POS systems, but this is a really good way to streamline the amount of time that you guys are spending in your camera system. So I think that is about it, all that I had. Any other questions?
Yes, we had a couple. The first one was, can Verkada cameras be used with other VMS platforms? You did answer that with Verkada Command connectors, so that
Mhm.
is a yes. Um, the next one, it's kind of broad. It says, let's say we install a camera as a demo. We like the platform. What does a rollout look like for us since we already have a unified security system in place? How is it approached so there's no disruptions?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. In my opinion, the worst way to do it is just manage two systems. You can have Verkada and you can have your other system kind of running simultaneously. What most people will do if they want to replace hardware over time is do that Verkada command connector. So they'll put in a couple Verkada cameras, they'll put the command connector in, and then they'll kind of slowly transition hardware to Verkada until they're one single pane of glass Verkada. The nice thing about some of these other platforms that we have is we can reuse a lot of the hardware with it. Like for access control, for example, most door readers and door cabling can be reused with Verkada. All you have to do is swap, we call it the brains or the door controller, and the reader will still function the same. Same with alarms. If there is existing alarms, cabling, and wired sensors, we swap just that alarm panel for Verkada, and then all of that existing hardware can be reused. So kind of depends on the situation. I'm sorry I can't give a better answer for that, but we do offer a lot of different integrations to make it easier for or organizations to transition over time rather than doing one really large capital expenditure project and having to invest everything into Verkada all at once.
Sure, and I'm sure that's something you guys run into all the time. So,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's it for the questions. for today. You obviously answered them all pretty well. Um, so I'll pop on and just thank everyone again for joining us today. We're going to be sending a recording of this webinar to all of you so you can, watch it again or watch parts of it again or even share it with a colleague who may be interested. Remember that at Parallel Technologies, we have our innovation lab and we have the full Verkada suite. So if you would like to come into our lab for a lunch and a demonstration of Verkada, we are more than happy to host you and your team for that. We appreciate your time. We hope that this session was helpful, and I will be contacting our giveaway winners shortly. So if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us or your Parallel AM. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a happy holidays.